people assume naturally that you're good with money, and I think that's not necessarily the case. That's the thing. Just because you're a business owner doesn't necessarily mean that you know what you're doing financially. I mean, whenever I've needed a financial expert, I've spoken to an expert rather than trying to do it myself.
Sure.
And one of the things I'd say with that as well is that, and this is a bit of an aside, myself, I'm slightly neurodiverse. And actually, that neurodiversity actually means that I'm quite entrepreneurial. But you actually therefore find that a lot of entrepreneurial people are quite creative, and they're very good at making things happen and coming up with new ideas and following those ideas. But when it comes to things like money and finance, it actually bores them. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, and therefore, it's not necessarily a thing. If anyone's got any questions today, good afternoon, Odessa. Thanks for joining us. If anyone's got any questions, please do put the questions in the comments, and we'll take the questions as we go through. So, Rob, a little bit about yourself first. Who are you? Where do you come from? What what is it you do?
My name's Rob Fisher, All Saints Financial, based in the Northampton. We also have an office in Harrogate and in Harrow. So we have a coverage of Northampton, Harrow and Harrogate.
Okay.
So we're just a small company. So I've mainly lived around this area, moved to Oxfordshire and back again to Northampton for various reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also, Ashley says good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Ashley, this afternoon.
Hello, Ashley.
Do tag people in the comments that you think might be interested in this. Let's get some people in. So I was talking to you yesterday ahead of this, and I was saying that when it comes to things like pensions and mortgages, etc., there's a lot of confusion, I think, out there in terms of what people should do, and especially around things like pensions now, because when my mum and dad finished work a few years ago, they had a stack of pensions. They had a decent state pension. My dad had a pension that he started when he was 17, working for, because a lot of people finished school a lot earlier, back in the day as well, and they worked their whole life. So he had a pension that carried through right from the age of 17. Very nice, thank you very much. And over the years that he'd stacked up pensions and ISAs, etc. So you find a lot of people these days, it's just with the cost of living, especially at the moment, the cost of living is going up, the cost of things like fuel and just daily living costs are going up. People are just not necessarily putting money aside for things like a pension, but actually they're just not thinking about the future.
This is my 27th year in financial services, and people have never wanted to put money away voluntarily for their pension and for their retirement. Right. A lot of people think, it's that's way off, that's years away. I needn't bother about that now. That's always the way. I've always seen my job is to perhaps bring the importance of retirement planning to people, to say, well, actually, you'll be surprised how quickly that time goes. I'm sure there's many people watching now wishing they'd started something a lot sooner. There's probably people out there that have started, but wish they'd put more in earlier.
Yep.
And some that haven't started at all yet, and obviously going to have to start to put a bit. When they do start, have to put a lot more in to get the retirement that they want, the lifestyle that they want in retirement.
Right, and that's the thing. It's the lifestyle that you want. I guess the only thing that we can latch onto and that we can think about is for example, you know, with myself, I've got children, and you just look at those children and you think, well, where did that time go? You know, for 1 minute they're in nappies, the next minute they're at university, and it's just gone. You know,
time flies.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say that, you know, I think we can. Anyone, especially as I say, anyone that's got children can resonate with that. You know, Steve Catlin, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Do you know Steve?
No, I don't. Hi, Steve.
Yeah, hi, Steve. If you've got any questions that you want to throw to either us about money, Rob will answer them, and I'll look at them because he's the expert. I'm not. In terms of how you do your business at the moment, are you finding that? I mean, it must have been quite an interesting time over the pandemic, because everything must have gone online, and you know, suddenly you can't go and see people. But generally, you finding that you're now going back out and seeing people. Do people really want to see someone face to face when it comes to talking about money?
My clients tend to want to see me face to face. That's what they're used to. Particularly the clients coming up to retirement. That's what they're used to. Some of the younger clients are okay working through Zoom or on the phone, but the more the elderly want me to go out face to face, and that's even now, even you know, with the pandemic still going on. Obviously, we've got to be careful how we do that meeting.
Yeah,
but,
no, absolutely.
They prefer that.
Steve's thrown a very interesting question in already, based upon what I said, which is, can you start a pension now as a 17-year-old?
You can start a pension as long as you are earning money. Yeah, for that age. Yeah, as long as you're earning money, you can. Yeah.
So there you go. Ashley asked, did Rob start with IB back in the day?
Oh, industrial branch. Oh yeah. Yes, Ashley. Now I think Ashley is was with the same company as myself, if I remember. I think I had a conversation with Ashley. I started with the Refuge many years ago, which is a bit like the man from the Peru. So just over 26 years ago. So this is my 27th year in financial services. I was the man from the Refuge, and don't get that confused with the rubbish man. A refuge is a safe place for your money. And that's where I started in financial services. And it was industrial branch and ordinary branch, as it was called. But I don't know if Joe Public understands what that means. It's basically industrial branches where we went around and collected premiums off people. Every 4 weeks, we'd knock on the door, come and collect premiums, little saving plans. And the ordinary branch was pensions, ISAs, much the same as it is now. Yeah. Well, not all PEPs as they were called then.
Ashley says that is the one. That is the one. Going back to what Steve said, he said his son's doing an apprenticeship, and firm says that he's with, say they offer him a pension at his age. So yeah.
If a company's offering you a pension, it's a no-brainer, because normally they're not just going to offer you a pension. They're going to, if you pay something in, they're going to either match it or even possibly pay more in. So that's money for nothing. Plus, obviously, the tax back from the government as well. It's a no-brainer.
Now, talking about money for nothing, checks for free, good Dire Straits song. It can happen though, and when I was talking to you yesterday, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about was the fact that as someone that's self-employed, and I've been self-employed off and on over the last 20 years, you know, how can I get as good a benefit as I can out of not paying the tax man so much money, and me earning a little bit more money? And actually, when it comes to things like pensions, you were saying to me that actually I could probably do that, so that I could actually offset some of the amount that I earn in terms of pension. Just explain how that works for people.
If you're a basic rate taxpayer, for every 80 pence you spend, 20p gets paid back from the tax man. So you're basically getting that money back from the tax man. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, then it's 40%. You'll get 20% now, and then you claim back 20% in your tax return at the end of the year. So that is basically getting your tax back, which you wouldn't otherwise get. So in effect, it's sort of money for nothing, particularly for higher rate taxpayers, because how long is that going to be about? So if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you should really be doing something while that window is still open.
That window of opportunity.
Yeah.
Actually, what Steve was trying to say was that his son's firm say they can't offer a pension.
Okay.
But
well, as soon as they can,
his...
then the idea is, as soon as they can, he can start it. So,
but presumably, as if he's earning anyway, if he wants to, he can set up his own pension fund as long as he's earning.
Why are they saying they can't? Is it his age, or is it because he hasn't been working there long enough? What's the reason, or is it just the particular scheme he's in?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's because of the apprenticeship scheme itself.
But
I mean, I think it'd be worth asking some questions there, and certainly, maybe even looking at a private pension anyway,
or possibly just saving that, or saving his money somewhere else to start with, ready to put into it as and when he can start it.
Yeah, so he starts it with a pot. Absolutely. Desawa, should we be looking at a pension as the answer to our retirement fund, or is there more we should do? That's a good question.
Oh, sorry, what's that again?
Yeah, should we be looking at a pension as the answer to our retirement fund, or should we be doing more than just that?
A pension is a very good solution towards your retirement planning. There are other ways of saving for retirement, such as an ISA, but you won't get the tax back from the government on an ISA. However, it will be completely tax-free when you take it.
Yeah.
And it will grow 100% tax-free. So,
Good.
But the pension would still remain the most tax-efficient way.
Steve says he thinks it's his age. Worth having a look into that, though. Worth having a look into that. Kate, good. Thanks for joining us, Kate Gregory. Kate's got a great question here. Can I add to my personal pension after the end of the tax year with money earned in that tax year and claim back the tax?
Yes, you can claim. You can go back 1 year on that to claim back as much. But each year, you can pay no more than you earn in that tax year. I believe it's about 40,000 at the minute is the maximum.
Right.
To double check that.
Absolutely. Now, listen, we're gonna cut away from the money just for a second. You have a couple of passions outside of money, sir, don't you? Which is rugby, which I loved as a sport when I was young, and also bikes. So let's just talk quickly about those. Anyone, if you've got money questions, please keep them coming in. We'll go back to them. But I just want to talk to Rob about this. You still playing rugby, sir?
Yeah, I'm part of a veterans team. So I started rugby again after 35 years of not playing rugby.
Yeah. And that's And where's that?
Our rugby team is based in Winslow, Buckinghamshire. But the minute we're training in Buckingham itself, in a place called Maids Morton, because someone's decided to flatten the rugby pitch in Winslow. So we're just waiting for a new rugby pitch to be built, to be made there.
There you go. So if you see the references on Rob's account on LinkedIn to rugby, now you know why. What position do you play, sir?
I'm a flanker.
Yeah,
exactly. A wing forward. If you didn't quite hear that properly, a flanker.
Yeah. And it's the exact position that I used to play for Bedford Colts as well. So there you go. And then we had a conversation yesterday as to which side that was, blind or open.
Yeah, and that the forwards do all the work and the backs don't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the way. Decimus, what got you into rugby? What made you return?
I played rugby at school and really enjoyed it, and after school as well for a team in Northampton called the Casuals.
Yeah,
we were pretty casual. We didn't win a lot, but it was good fun. Drinking beer out of a watering can, things like that.
Yeah,
but it was good fun.
Well, I always used to love the school trips when it came to rugby as well. We went to Wales on a school trip, playing a load of Welsh teams,
Oh, wow.
and that yeah, which was great fun. And one occasion that I remember in particular, they had to get the sheep off of the pitch before we went on, and it was on the site of an old slag heap.
Okay.
And there was one point, it was so wet that day as well. There was one point where we went down into the scrum, and when we all came back up, we were completely black.
Wow.
It wasn't mud. So there you go.
It's been quite a game, especially the Welsh, it being their main game.
Yeah, no, it was quite physical, shall we put it that way? And bikes. So you're also into bikes as well?
Yes, I've been riding motorbikes since 2002.
Yeah,
and I took my I did CBT, and then I went straight onto the big bikes, direct access, I think it's called, and then been riding ever since. My first bike was a Harley Davidson 1200cc. So I went straight from not riding a motorbike at all straight onto a Harley Davidson. So nothing like jumping in at the deep end.
No, well, I saw the post on LinkedIn the other day about the biking, and that was just it was so surprising how many people suddenly came out of the woodwork with, I ride a bike.
Anyone that rides a motorbike has a passion for it, and even if they haven't ridden one for many years, it's something you just never forget. It's it's a great joy.
Yeah. Now, one subject which some people see as a bit of a contentious subject, but I don't personally have a problem with it, which is equity release. I mean, you had a bit of an epiphany yourself when it came to equity release. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. It wasn't the advice I wanted to be giving until around about eight years ago, when I went to the Chartered Insurance Institute lecture on equity release, just to see what it was all about and why advisors were advising it. What had put me off it was the 70s. There was a lot of back-to-back selling. We'll get a loan from your house and then we'll bung it straight into investments. And there was a lot of bad things happened. But things have moved on from that. People don't necessarily take money out of their house for that reason. Most of the time now it's want a new kitchen, new conservatory, want to go traveling. They might be 65, still able to travel, want to go around the world a bit before they put the feet up, because there's you retire, you're healthy and you can do stuff, but you haven't got the money to do it. So a lot of my clients, that's one of the reasons they take money out. Another reason, bank of granddad and grandma, or bank of mum and dad, just to help the youngsters out, is another reason.
Yeah.
And a third reason is inheritance tax planning. If they've got a big estate, they just want to gift something, but they haven't got the cash sat in a bank account. They don't want to move, and they want to reduce the size of the estate. So they gift the money to the children, and it becomes a potentially exempt transfer. So after 7 years, there's no inheritance tax to pay. So that's a third reason. So there's lots of good reasons, and these were all pointed out to me in the Chartered Insurance Institute lecture that I went to, and it changed my mind.
Yeah.
So I immediately enrolled on a course, equity release course.
Well, it seems to me fairly logical. I've met people who live in a reasonable house, which obviously has value in it, and yet in their old age, and yet actually can't afford to light the fire, or turn the heating on, or do anything particularly in the house, because their money's all tied up in bricks and mortar. It seems ridiculous.
Well, the first thing I would always advise them is it possible for them to downsize, move house, go somewhere cheaper, release some money. It's always the first thing we say. Basically, my job when I do equity release is to talk them out of it. It's like, Are you sure you want to be doing this? Why not move house? Can you borrow off relatives? Is there any other way that you can get this money? Is this because at the end of the day, we want to explore all the options. But normally people don't want to move house. They love their neighbourhood. If you move house, what the neighbour's going to be like, that sort of thing. So they don't want to ruin their quality of life. Want to stay where they are, release a bit of money, and just enjoy life a bit more.
Well, I guess it's like anything, that can be sold to people as a service or an offer, is that, there's a professional way of doing it and a good way of doing it, and there's a bad way of doing it. And ultimately, I guess if you're selling it professionally, transparently, to the right people for the right reasons, then it's a good thing to do. Presumably, it doesn't suit everybody, equity release, but it does. It does some people.
No, that's right. And we're a company where we don't actually do that many of them. We probably do between 6 and 8 a year. So it's not our only business. So we're not there to come along. We've seen 6 other people that day on equity release, and I'm basically a salesman. That type of they're a salesman basically. I'm a independent financial advisor. I do probably 8 equity releases a year if it's right for my client. A lot of those clients are already clients of mine, so we've got many years of knowing each other. So I would know whether it's right or not for a lot of my clients.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Stephen. Nice shirt. I see. I made the right decision to put a shirt on prior to coming on. Thanks, Steve. Steve, do you have any money questions yourself that you want to ask Rob? Do chip in with a money question if you want to. We've covered a lot. Just to leave people with perhaps a couple of little tidbits that would be really useful at the moment. What are a couple of really useful tips that you could perhaps give people in terms of financial advice at the moment?
The main tip is see somebody, see a financial advisor. Doesn't have to be me. Talk through your finances. It can be as simple as you're spending too much money each month, and how can you cut down on your bills? Could be saving money on your house insurance, life cover that's costing you you could save money on life cover, for instance, because people are living longer, so life covers come down in price.
What about mortgages? What should we be doing about mortgages at the moment?
Right. Okay. Mortgages. There's only one way interest rates are likely to go. No one has a crystal ball, but they're likely to go up. Inflation's going up. So the Bank of England is likely to put the bank base rate up fairly soon. And the more inflation goes up, the more the Bank of England will put the base rate up to try and stop inflation. And that will have a knock-on effect with interest rates. And if you're not on a fixed rate, I would recommend you speak to someone like myself pretty quickly and get yourself on a fixed rate, preferably a 5-year, because the rates are unbelievable at the minute. They've never been as low. I've got 5-year fixes of 1%. It's just mad.
Yeah,
it's unheard of. So get yourself on a fixed rate if you're not on one already. That's a big one there. Secondly, if you coming up to retirement, you might have a few pension pots there, or with various pensions. Have a look at them. Start planning.
Yeah. What is it that we should be looking out for in terms of those pension plans? What could it be that might need to be changed?
Well, firstly, has anyone rung you up? Has an advisor actually spoken to you recently?
No.
If they haven't, then
not for years.
Pick up the phone to me. Yeah. Pick up the phone to me, because someone's supposed to be speaking to you at least once a year, if not more.
Right.
And if they haven't, pick up your phone to a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Get someone that's actually going to speak to you at least once a year, if not more.
Yeah.
Also, you'll have someone, if you're worried, if the market's gone down, pick up the phone to Rob. The market's crashed. What should I do? I had loads of those phone calls, loads of those conversations last year. That's what I'm here for.
You said something to me yesterday when we were talking about charges on pension plans.
Absolutely. Charges on pensions have come down a lot. Also, modern pensions, we put them onto what we call a platform now, so you can access not just your pension, you can access ISAs and investment plans on there, and the charges have come right down. So what that means, if you've got pensions that you've had for many years, the chances are you're paying too much money. They're not invested how you want them to be, because you don't know how they're invested. So speak to a financial advisor, get your charges down, and think about, have it invested how you want it invested, not how it was invested, I don't know, on day one if it hasn't been looked at since.
No, that's really, really helpful. Lots of great advice to take away from today. Thanks so much for coming on and doing this. We may come back again at another time and do another one. If anybody throughout the day has got any questions that you want to put to us in terms of money and finance, do put them in the comments as this goes round throughout the day, whether you're on LinkedIn or whether over in Twitter land, you're on Twitter as well, and we will collate those answers and we'll come back to you with the answers from Rob. So thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day. If the weather's nice, you could go and have a little ride on the motorbike.
Actually, I might do that. Yeah, it's all charged up, ready to go. It's an electric one.
I see.
Yeah, so it's another thing. I'm very much into environmental, social, and governance type investing. So ESG investing as well. So it's a way forward. Yeah,
it is indeed. And well, actually, it's as is being discussed at the moment. Businesses are really going to have to start looking into their carbon footprint going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Thanks. And thanks to all of those people that have commented or asked questions today. Thanks for your time as well. Bye for now.
All right. Cheers. Bye.